Coming to you from the M&M Exterior Studio in Knoxville, Virginia, this is Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. She talks to people so you don't have to. For now.
Welcome back to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. I'm excited today to share with you my good friend, Jewell. She's not only a friend, she's a dynamic woman who I met when I first moved to Virginia. So, Deb, thank you so much for coming today.
Dynamic.
Yes. That was off the top of my head.
It's good. I'm going to keep that because it's a D.
Yeah.
Dynamic Deb.
I love alliteration. So
I'm totally going to use that. So I am an experienced wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, volunteer.
So true.
Not a business owner, but been through a lot.
You have. And you said it in there, you're a volunteer. And you're
30 years in IT, connecting devices, but I make a living connecting devices. I make a life connecting people.
I love that. You make a living connecting devices and you make a life connecting people.
Yes.
And my new tagline now is sparking connections, igniting conversations. So I don't think it's I think that probably explains why we connected so long ago and why we're still connected today.
Yes. Do you want to talk about the first time we met?
I do. I do remember it.
Yeah. Okay. Our memories might be different. Okay. So our memory is you being a part, I was in this networking group. I'll not name it, but at
Stonewall Club.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In a room with a bunch of people. I was subbing. Mm-hmm. Oh, now people can guess what it was. So I wasn't really looking forward to it, but, because I don't do a lot of that kind of weekly type networking events, and you were there. And I remember you, saying that you had recently moved to the area and you were engaged and you showed me your ring. I was like, where's the ring? Show me your ring. And you were looking to make friends. I was like, girl, you are going to make so many friends.
You're going to meet so many people you do. And I remember you told me,
do this and this and this and this.
And everything you said I did.
And it's going to be so cool. And then you were off like a little bird.
Yeah. If you told me to jump, I said how high. Like,
not true.
You told me chamber, I did chamber. You told me Dominion Women's Club.
Oh, ambassador.
Yes, I did all of that. Anything. And for I think 2 solid years, I basically the only name that came out of my mouth was Jewell. Jewell told me to be
Passionately Pink we did together.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Forgot about that one.
So much fun.
Yeah.
And all of that led to so many of the connections I have today. The good friends that I have. And the experience, and then the times we shared together, those are just that's part of my passion with wanting to connect people and wanting to share stories and things like that, because it's like, had you not crossed paths with certain people, who knows where things would be.
30 seconds can change your life forever. Yes. So can I name names too?
Sure. Go ahead.
You were at the Dominion Women's Club and you were like, I always wanted to meet Stephanie at church. And here she is.
I don't know if I've ever even told her that. I'm sure I have told her that. But yes, I used to see her at church.
So pretty.
And be like, oh my gosh,
and now you're best friends.
Yes.
You're texting each other during the podcast and I haven't talked to her in 10 years.
So
it's
cool.
Terrible.
That's what's awesome about connections though. But like you and I were saying, we can pick up right where we left off though.
That's right.
And that actually is a great segue into what we are talking about today, because I would say you're definitely an expert at connecting people. And we could talk all day about ways to connect people and things like that. But I think a universal theme that everyone can benefit from is their mindset about change.
Yes.
So whether it's personal, professional, yourself, dealing with others, is how you think about change, what your relationship is with change. And you and I have so many things in common, but I've learned so much from you. I think that would be so fun for us to dive into.
Yes, I did want to talk about change today. So
I think we will talk about our relationships with change, what we've learned from it, and then really wrap it up with how to help dealing with change so that we can walk away, or listeners can walk away with kind of, not only some impactful, helpful ideas about change, but some things to help moving forward, to help with their mindset on change. So,
right. Yeah. So we're both military brats.
We are both military brats. What does brat stand for?
Born, raised, and trained. Born, raised, and trained.
I use that term all the time, and I honestly don't know if I knew that that's what it stood for, so I'm glad you said that, and so now we can get that out into the world.
It's in the Urban Dictionary. See, I learn something new every day.
You got to be careful when you go to that Urban Dictionary, though. Proceed with caution.
Exactly. Born, raised, and trained, which of course I was by my military dad.
Yeah. And how long did you move around?
So 13 times before I was 18.
Wow. Yeah. I think I'm similar numbers. But I ended up being in New Jersey for all of high school, so that's where I'm a little bit of an outlier of a lot of military brats but I was supposed to move halfway through.
Right. Yeah. And I was supposed to move at the end of high school, but I refused because I was 18 and
you put your foot down.
Well, I was going to college and I went to Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah. We both went to Virginia Tech.
Yes. I went to Virginia Tech. And so I stayed in Virginia. And when I would come home, it would be to visit my friends. My parents moved to New York. It was too cold up there.
Wow.
And I know they wanted me to come back up to New York, but it wasn't for me.
Just couldn't do it.
I was done with the moving thing.
And you stayed here and that's so funny. Yeah. When I was in college, I moved into a townhouse my sophomore year, and my senior year, my friends who I was going to live with, we talked about where to live, and I can't move. Like, I need to just stay here, and it's not that I wanted to be difficult, but it was like, I've moved my whole life. If I have the chance to just stay put, don't make me move.
This isn't home. I would tell my dad, this isn't home. And he'd say, home is where you hang your hat. I don't have a hat.
Oh, so how did you deal with change?
Well, you're forced to change.
Yeah.
Forced into change when you're a brat.
Yeah.
So, you don't really have a choice. It's how, and I told you before, kids are adaptable. Mm-hmm. So if you are excited, what's your relationship with change, right? Do you get scared of it? Mm-hmm. Are you excited about something new? Mm-hmm. So as a child or elementary school kid, I was always really excited about a new place and a new house and a new town and making new friends, some of which I'm still friends with today.
Yeah.
So,
what was your parents' mindset on change? Because I have an observation about that.
I wished I'd asked them that.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom probably loved purging and doing that all over again. I don't know. She seemed to like to clear out clutter. She was really good at that. I'm not so much. And my dad was always excited about new assignments.
Yeah.
I know.
I always ask that because I think with our mindset, I mean, there's certain things that are innate in us. Some people have more anxiety than others and things like that. And so you can't change it, just on how you act. But I do think, based on my experience and some others, is that how the parents framed it was a big part of it. And so if it was, we're so sad to leave, we're so sad to go, we don't want to go, it's just sad. But my parents, they did a great job of always looking forward. So even if we were not psyched about where we were going, they did a really good job of framing it very positive to the point. And the reason I know this, and I'm so, it's off the top of my head, is I think about in high school, how I mentioned we were supposed to move. So I was at the same high school. I was there in actually middle school. Then I moved away in 8th grade and then went back to New Jersey. So these were people I knew for a couple years. And then, there was new people, some old friends that I reconnected with. I had a great group of girlfriends, that we had the sleepovers with every weekend. And so it was awesome. I had this great niche, tight group of friends, but we were supposed to move to Michigan between my sophomore and junior year. And so, of course, I theoretically should have been devastated. And I think initially I was sad to move, but my parents did such a good job, all right, in Michigan where we're going to live, there's going to be a marina and, we could do this and that. And so it just, my brain, I think, is the way they trained me and then maybe some innate things in me. But I started getting psyched that okay, I'm sad, but I can't change it. I can't do anything about moving. And so let's start getting psyched. So I got super psyched. And I remember this like it was yesterday. So if any Jersey listeners are listening, I just left Picatinny and I'm down by the roller rink and the one diner that was over there by the Rockaway Mall. And my parents said, well, there's been some changes and it looks like we're not going to Michigan anymore. And I said, what the
to your parents?
To my parents. And it was the first time.
So Jersey.
I'd been in Jersey for at that point 4 years of my life plus preschool. So probably 5 or 6 years, 6 years total. But I never had cursed like that in front of them. And I remember they didn't yell at me because they showed me grace that they knew that, that was a huge change for me. But I thought once I kind of came to terms with wait a second, once my brain caught up. So the point is that was my first reaction. They're telling me I don't have to leave my best friends. I can stay. That's every military kid's dream. And I actually responded with WTF, that doesn't even make logical sense. And then once it passed of the feeling, I had to like, because my brain was so far sold on the new thing. Then of course I was like, oh, thank goodness I'm staying. Like, okay, this is much better. I'm glad for this.
Right.
But that just always made me laugh of like, dang, they did a good job. And I did it. We all did a good job of like selling ourselves on the next big thing. So
yeah, my parents must have done that.
Yeah.
Because I was very receptive and excited, except for when we came back to Virginia.
Oh.
So that was devastating.
why was that devastating?
Because we had just been in Paris for...
Yeah.
You're going to Paris. It was hard to be scared of that, right?
Yeah.
It was very exciting. And then we got there and it was like, there's always something to complain about. The music's terrible here. The
food. No. Yeah, right. I'm sure
the food was great.
delicious.
The wine
Yes.
is fantastic.
Yes.
There's no age there.
Teenager, just fine.
You could go to lunch and get wine if you wanted.
That's so
But
funny.
it was an awesome experience. And then coming back, it was like I just felt so different from everybody else because I hadn't been in America for 3 years. So it was, I don't know the music people like. I don't know anything. And the TV shows people are watching, I didn't have anything really in common.
Oh yeah.
So
Hard to
I
connect with
dressed
people.
like, differently.
I never thought
70s.
about that because I was in elementary school when I was in Germany.
Yeah.
So, I didn't really
Where
think
in
about
Germany?
We were, Wertheim was one, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. But my memory of being in Germany during that time frame is when New Kids on the Block was out. And because I lived in Germany, and I don't know why there wasn't as much stuff there, but the only thing I could find was in the catalog that we got was a New Kids on the Block sleeping shirt. So, a sleeping shirt, pajamas, goes down to your knees.
Yeah.
But I wanted to wear it to school, so I would tuck it in my pants.
Oh, wow.
To be like a regular shirt. And I think that I still have that shirt because my other philosophy, so I have two philosophies with military brats. And this isn't that mind-blowing because there's really only a couple choices. But I think you're either on the end of the spectrum where you're like super outgoing, you want to meet everyone, or you are super introverted because you figure out what makes you happy without anyone else. Like, you find your passions within and things like that, where I didn't ever develop other passions, just hanging out with people. So either end of the spectrum, super quiet or super talkative. And then with keeping stuff, you're either get rid of, purge everything, or keep everything. It's like one or the other. And so we are like a keep everything family because I don't know why. I don't know if it's the Midwest thing or what, but I understand it now because it's like we always had to change. We always had to have new houses, new this, new that like if we have the same yellow bowl that we cook something in, that feels familiar. The same New Kids on the Block shirt, that I wore to, there was an 80s night and I busted out my New Kids on the Block shirt. See, there's benefits to
And it
holding
still
on to
fits,
stuff.
which is also cool.
It was snug. It was
Those
snug.
sleep shirts, they last forever. So good.
So what would you say you learned from being forced to change as an
Well,
Army
when you
brat?
don't have a choice, you better figure out quick
How to deal with
how
it.
to deal with it. Because change is unsettling, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
change.
Do you think parents, and I would say not, so you just brought up a good point that's making me think. So if military people's kids and families are forced to change, do you think, and it's not just military, because I know there's so many jobs that require people to move or life circumstances
That's
and
true.
things like
Yeah,
that.
life circumstances.
So if life circumstances don't force you to like move and change, do you think parents by nature shelter or protect their kids from change?
Well, they do want to see their kids not be hurt. And as
Yeah.
adults, since they know like change hurts,
Yes.
So
I've talked to friends about their kids switching schools. And it's funny because from their point of view, they don't want them to have to move or change because it's scary. And I've always said like that it could be awesome. They could meet new friends and but that's also because I'm coming from two different points of view. One, the change mentality of change is great sometimes. And then selfishly too, I'm like, I just want you to move closer to me. So I want you to
and they'll
do that.
adapt. They do.
Yeah.
They'll adapt.
And I think that's what you learn. Part of it is that you can adapt.
And if you practice, even as an adult, putting yourself into unsettling situations, you'll adapt too. Your mind is flexible. Like your muscles, right? Like you're lifting weights or whatever.
Yes.
You don't lift weights one day and then go out of the gym and go, I don't look different, so I'm going to quit lifting weights.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you do. I did. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, why aren't I walking out of the gym and I still look the same?
Well, I mean, I've been really good with my eating the last 2 days, and I really don't understand why I haven't dropped like a ton of weight, but that's neither here nor there.
That's all in it. But exercise, right? Exercising your muscle, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And listen, you can do this really easily too as an adult, and it's not going to be painful. You just take a different way home. Look at different scenery. You just do something a little bit different than the way you did before.
Yeah.
And you kind of exercise that muscle that wants familiarity so much, right? Familiarity is so easy.
It is. And it's comfortable. And it's nice and cozy.
And the older you get, the more you want to be, they say set in your ways, but it's just resistance to change is what it is, right?
Yes.
And you want to be resilient. You want to be able to, because, face it, change is coming every day. There's something new to face. That's
so, and
different.
you kind of answered it, but it's like, how can we as adults be resilient with change? And then how can we equip our kids or whoever's in our life that we are with to equip them for change? I love the idea of the small exercises.
Mm-hmm. Camping was like, did you camp when you were?
I didn't camp when I was little, and my girlfriend, she's asked us periodically to go camping, and she knows now. She's like, I know you're probably going to say no, and I'm willing to do a low key camping trip.
Clamping,
yeah, that would be nice.
Camping. Like, I'm sure if my mom was in here, she could tell some stories. But of us being parked on a hill and it's pouring down rain, and it was like there was never a good camping experience in my family.
Yeah,
but it made us also have to adapt.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Part of adapting. I was thinking. So back to like, do parents shelter their kids from change?
Probably.
I love what you said about they don't want to make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I know for me with the kids, if I know something's going to cause, just to sum it up in like drama, I know it's going to cause whether you want, whether it's a meltdown, whining, being upset. I definitely want to avoid that, and so I feel like I have to remind myself that I need to do this for them. And I'm like already thinking my kids have such a different life than I had because they're more similar to my husband's life, which is living in the same place, same school. And I think there's benefits to that. And I'm excited for them to have it.
Roots.
But yeah, so and that's why I always say with like my upbringing is that, and this is what I say with a lot of things in life, neither one's better or worse.
Right.
It's just different. And so it's what positives do you want to pull from it?
Yeah.
So.
And I learned a lot from moving around, right? Different cultures, different, you're exposed to so much, different personalities, different ways of life, different.
What are some specific things you think you learned?
Oh, geez. Open-mindedness, probably. You got to be open-minded because like you said, there is no right. Everybody is experiencing life in their own way, from their own perspective.
Yeah. And they think of things because of the way they grew up. And if everyone grew up the same way you did, then I think it's easy to assume that everyone thinks like me.
Right. And the world would be so boring.
Yes.
It would.
One of the things that blew my mind, I feel like as a young adult, I heard, which was common sense was the stupidest phrase ever. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, common sense is, people need to have common sense. But then they said, not everyone has the same common experience. And so to assume that everyone has the same thought about something is foolish. And I thought that was like a mind blowing, classic early 20s, like, what? I never thought of it like that before.
And when you're thinking about change, that fear of the unknown is there personally, and maybe even for kids. There's a fear of the unknown, right? A fear of being unfamiliar with something, and your mind tends to fill in the gaps with scary things, not faithful things, right?
Yes.
You're not thinking, oh, it's going to be great. I always think it's going to be great. Yeah. I always think it's going to turn out great.
You do. And do you think that's something innate in you, or do you think that's something that you trained yourself to do?
I have always felt that way, but I constantly train myself. So, yeah.
So we talked before when we were just chatting about the discomfort of change and how our brains are wired. So can you talk more about that? Because I love and I mean, I should have prefaced this that, neither of us are experts. I need to just always have that as like the preface
I'm not an
of every
expert.
podcast. Like we're just sparking connections, igniting conversations to think about, but with change, but the tips that you've learned because you've raised kids that are great adults now. And so I like getting to sometimes the science behind stuff. And now when I say the term science, not that we have any books pulled out or studies, but I like understand, like with fear, how fear is a normal response to protect yourself. So I want to let you comment a little bit more on that. But then you it helps you push through those things so that if someone's listening, and ourselves included, it's like, well, I want to change, but it's easy for her to say. Or, so it's like, I feel like for at least me, if I know the thought process behind it, I can remind myself in those times and then push through to the next step. So
True.
Can you walk through that a little bit?
So our brains are wired for reward, right? They're wired to seek pleasure, not to seek painful things. I was thinking about this morning, like someone who runs all the time. I mean, I don't get it.
I wish I did.
I don't like to sweat anyway, but I just don't get why someone would run without a bear chasing them or something.
Yeah.
But I have plenty of friends who run and who travel and who like to do marathons and everything else. And I'm like, I can't do that. But can't isn't the right word. I won't do that. I choose, when you say,
I choose not to.
Yeah. When you say can't, you're kind of giving away your power. You should never say can't. You should change that word to won't. So I won't run marathons. It's just not something I'm excited about.
It's not where I want to put my energy.
Not where I want to put my energy. But people who have started running will say, oh, well, I was really sore and I got out there and I did it the next day, until all of a sudden it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
They've trained their muscles, but also trained their mind to push past all of that pain, and they're getting rewarded.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for the pain.
Yeah.
They're doing it
That's a good
for the reward.
Yep.
But it took them a little while to get there.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in being rewarded by a marathon
That's
medal.
not where you want to get your reward from.
I don't need that medal.
Yeah. Some
can
people,
have
yes.
it.
Some people, no.
You can have
so
it.
how to push through then? So I can't remember if we've talked about this here or not, but fear is the body's natural response to protecting ourselves, because our brain, it's like its whole thing is survival. And so, gosh, I should have prepared this so I could have given you real information. But, it's our body wanting to protect ourselves, but it doesn't mean necessarily we're in danger. So if you're walking into a room, like if you're about to do something and you're scared, you're not truly in a threat.
Right.
So pushing through that feeling. And so recently we were on vacation in South Carolina, and I talk a lot about feelings with my kids, and, with my daughter feeling like anxious and stuff. And so she wanted to jump off a rock, because sometimes she blows our minds with the stuff she wants to do, and I think that's one reason she struggles so much, is because she feels things so strongly. So she feels the fear and the anxiety, but she wants to jump off that really high rock. And so we swam out to this high rock, and it was really high. I mean, like, so thankfully there was different tiers, just the way you walked up, but we figured out she could jump off this one, and she was nervous, and then she did it. And I was so excited, because I'm swimming in the water and I'm watching her, and she said something like she's scared. And I'm sure I heard this somewhere, probably on another podcast or some talk. And it was like, hey, I said something like, hey, that feeling you're feeling, it's just fear. Like, all you have to do is just push through and you'll do it. And so then she did it. And as a parent, I was like, yes, because like now we have this story to use for her to use as like a life lesson. Like, remember when you felt that way and then you did it anyway?
Yes.
And so, I think it's the quote, like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Oh, yes. Start making
it will pass, that
Yes.
fear.
So what are some ways of dealing? What are some ways you already talked about? I love the practicing. So definitely practice. What are other ways we can help dealing with change?
Reading stories about people that have been through something similar or been through something like that, who had faced a change and conquered it in some way. That inspires. I love reading other people's stories about their success stories, whatever. I love looking at the before and after pictures. Even I'm like celebrating with everybody, you know, that's cool to me. And that inspires and fills your mind with positive. Well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. It raises the belief barrier. Like, if you can't believe it, seeing someone else to believe it.
Exactly.
What would you say? You have led a dynamic life, I would say. You've had lots of change.
Sure.
What's something you think you've overcome and come out the other side?
I think even the whole, being forced to move thing, I think there might have been a point in my life where I was like, oh, there's a bunch of people in here I don't know. Maybe in middle school.
Yeah.
It wasn't when I was little, but maybe in middle school where you start getting self-conscious about wearing white. I told you that. I had an incident like that. But anyway, when you start feeling self-conscious as a teenager, so I'm like, this is crazy. I got to make friends and, I'm different. I was very different. So, but I did. And I don't know, I never kept a diary really or journaled. So I don't really know at what point where it changed, but I did start feeling like, I would have never known this person if I didn't do this or I didn't do this. So I'm just going to forget about all that. And I'm just going to throw myself out there. Not everybody's going to like me. And I'm okay with that because not everybody's going to like you. I know it's hard to believe. I'd said to myself, but
I don't know.
Everyone
would like you.
Not everybody's going to like you.
I know. I'm telling myself
and you're not going to know why.
Yeah.
You're going to be, but why don't you like me?
Well, that's why people see me as an outgoing person, but I don't think I really became... I think in college is when I became more outgoing with people. I mean, if I knew people, I think in high school I was still me. I mean, kind of the same person, but not with everybody. But I've realized that because I've lived here for so long and I've built relationships. So just about a year and a half ago when I started working again and getting out there and meeting people, it's like once I have my people, it gives me that confidence, I think, to be myself. So when I walk into a room, I always tell people like I have that pit in my stomach of new people and things like that, but I get more and more comfortable with going to the same things and seeing the same people. That builds my confidence. And so I think with growing up in those middle school, high school years, I just always, I feel like most teenagers, man, if I didn't realize everyone else was as insecure as me in high school. Like, I feel like once I got to college, I think my mom probably tried to tell me that, but it was like, Mom, you don't understand. And I think like in college or something like that, I was like, wait, everyone had crazy stuff in their head. And I was walking around all insecure. I wish probably why I'm doing this podcast. Like, you guys, we all have crazy stuff in our heads. Like,
your bodies are changing. I mean,
oh my gosh. I don't like love this story. I'm not proud of it, but at the sake of being, just putting our stuff out there. It's not a big deal story, but I remember in high school, I had some warts on my thumbs and toes and I was so embarrassed because like, ew, that word just sounds gross. And I'm the only one I'm sure who has this gross thing on her body. And I got to the point where I would even walk with like my thumb tucked in because I just was so self-conscious about it. And I had to go to the dermatologist and they froze them off and yada, yada. So
Nobody noticed.
This was like this internally traumatic thing. I don't think anyone ever made a comment about it. I don't think anyone ever talked about it. It was just my own fear of someone saying something about it. And I was so devastated by this. I get to college and I remember just chatting with someone informally, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's my wart. I have to do something about it. And I was like, wait, you just said it? Like, wait, you have a wart? I mean, it's so stupid. It's something so trivial. But these are like those stupid, I feel like, life lessons in my life where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I let something as stupid as a wart make me feel so crappy about myself.
Or is it on your nose? Like, so it's red and people think you're crying.
Yeah.
No, it's just a zit. I'm not upset.
Well, that's why I'm like, no wonder like when people are like, what are real problems? Like there's real stuff going on in the world, so kind of the quicker we can.
And it passes and you get through it. So,
it passes.
But change is unsettling and that's why it's scary.
Yeah. So true.
As heck.
So some closing thoughts, Deb. So you are just the queen of, I would say, I don't know, being amazing is off the top of my head. But what drives you to always be giving and putting yourself out there and connecting people and meeting people? Because that's the thing. You said you don't own a business. You're not here to hawk a product. You're not here to sell anything. Like you're just an awesome person. So like, what is your driving force?
Well, when I go anywhere, before I have like this little self-talk thing before I go in, I'm like, you're going to be a light for somebody and you don't even know it yet. And so that excites me about going into places that can happen or someone's going to be a light for you. I honestly believe that God puts people in my path. The things that have happened in my life, there's no explanation for it. Getting laid off and finding a job the very next day. Things like, even when my dad passed away, I was so traumatized because I wasn't there when it happened. And then I had this dream. Oh, no, Deb, it's a good thing you weren't there because someone had to go down and be strong for everyone who was a wreck. And I really felt that. So divorce, it causes big change.
Yeah.
But again, now, I'm with my best friend. My kids turned out okay. I'm a grandma.
Yeah, you're a grandma.
So good things happen. And the Bible says beauty comes from ash, right? And when it's all burned down, something amazing is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
And I just always feel like that. This joy. You can't put a finger on it, but it's there.
It's awesome.
So, and you're so brave to do this. I am so excited.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me, by the way. And for Jeremy coming in and setting it all up and
he's
on your
awesome.
special day.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it like an hour is up already?
A half hour. Because we have the after show.
Oh, there's an after
So
show.
we do the pit stop.
Okay.
So the pit stop is where we say, okay, let's tell some stories. Let's do a little chit chat and let's get to
I gotcha.
the point. And then, we can just let our hair down, pour a drink, and just
Well, I am a
chit-chat.
big fan of your podcast. So
Well,
I was
thank
very
you.
excited when you asked me. And then I was like, what are we going to talk about?
Yes.
We just always have these
know.
conversations and it's going to be recorded. What am I?
So
I'm not an
scary.
expert at anything. It's so scary. I'm going to do it anyway.
Good job. That's the thing. So very similar to you is that I found that saying yes sometimes without knowing the whys, if it kind of goes down to that whole intuition, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, like if it feels right, because I've done multiple things, I feel like throughout my life where it didn't make sense, but it just felt like that just felt like the right thing to do. And,
Right.
I feel like it's always turned out pretty good. So
You just have to let go. Right.
and keep moving forward. So any recommendations we used to do or anything we haven't covered yet? Is there anything left to cover?
Well, it's okay to acknowledge that change is scary, right?
For sure.
Just, tell yourself that it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah.
And of course, do it anyway. And definitely allow yourself to put into uncomfortable situations because that gives you practice in how you're going to respond to those uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
And gosh, I've been in so many uncomfortable situations. I'm glad we're not talking about all those
I was
today.
about to be like, ooh, let's talk about one, Deb. What's an uncomfortable situation you've been in?
A job interview I had to go through and I didn't have my umbrella and the parking was so far away and I was drenched by the time I got up there and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kill it. Well, I didn't kill it because I was soaking wet to where you could see my bra through my dress and my hair and there was just no
coming back from that.
no coming back
No
from it.
coming back.
So I left there and I'm like, I guess I wasn't meant to have that job. But boy, that was fun. It wasn't fun, but I just told myself.
But you told yourself that. And you know what, though? That also shows how you dealt with it. So.
I mean, there was no way to avoid the puddles. When I walked into the place, they had the interview downstairs, which was weird. It wasn't in a private office. So I had to walk across this tile floor and it was squish, squish, squish in my heels. Squish, click, squish, click.
Oh, gosh.
In my heels.
Trying to be put together and everything.
Oh my goodness. Just not fair. And life isn't fair, but
life isn't fair.
Be prepared to be disappointed and just ride it out because it's all going to be great.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they say that we should do with our kids, right? Is like prepare them for disappointment and how to deal with it.
And maybe that's not what we're not doing enough of that maybe. Yeah, because we do try to protect our loved ones, all of our loved ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's our nature to want to protect. So, and any recommendations, any book recommendations, anything? It's just, is there anything you're reading right now or watching or listening to?
Well, I watch Wheel of Fortune every night because I love word games and I like to beat the people there.
Yeah. That's awesome. I miss out. You know what I miss about back in the day? I miss the routine of like the Wheel of Fortune and then you just had the nightly news on like the regular station and then watched a show.
That was like our family thing.
Yeah.
Like we all played Wheel of Fortune and it's still Pat and it's still Vanna
So
and it's
fun.
just now we
Like
record
that, now
it.
it's no change. Now it's like I like it because it's consistent.
like
Isn't
it.
that
It's
ironic?
familiar.
We talk all about change and
It's
then
familiar.
it's like I like it because it's familiar.
It's familiar. I love it. Well, the puzzles change every day.
You're right. They do change. And Vanna, I mean, why is she even there? She just touches the
She
screen.
used to have to switch them around.
Yeah. She doesn't work
Yeah,
as
we
well.
have fun with that. We record it now so we don't have to watch commercials. So
That's good.
Modern technology. Books. I have a go-to book called The 4-8 Principle I keep on my nightstand by Tommy Newberry.
Okay.
And it's about Philippians 4:8. Think whatever is joyful, whatever is noble, whatever. I wish I was better at memorizing scripture, but I'm not.
That's all right.
It's that Tommy Newberry book.
That's
and
great.
and there's another one, Jesus CEO, it's about visionary leadership in modern times because Jesus was like, I mean, what kind of leader still has thousands and billions of people still following him. Just started with 12 people.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So say
Plus,
those one more time.
He served great wine too. We talked about that.
Yeah.
That's a chapter in that book, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Jesus,
check that out.
Jesus served the best wine.
So the first one
Jesus,
was
comma, CEO.
So Jesus, comma, CEO. And then
the other is the 4:8 principle.
Okay, great.
About joy, finding joy.
And then Wheel of Fortune.
And, well, yeah.
And you know what? I actually like that over Jeopardy because I sometimes like to watch Jeopardy, but I don't know any of the answers. So then I end up feeling worse about myself afterwards. But Wheel of Fortune, I feel better about myself.
And you know why? Because there's just not enough joy on Jeopardy. People are very serious.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
Look,
there's not the
just
cheering.
Look at their faces. They're not clapping after every
Oh my gosh,
spin.
if I got an answer right, I would be like, in your face to the person next to me. But,
you would?
Oh yeah. I get very like, I think I said this with Natasha on one of the podcasts. I was never athletic. Maybe I could be. I choose not to be too hardcore. So I think because I can't excel, I never excelled in that area. I took my wins where I could get them.
Mm.
So they're
Do you play Scrabble? And
I do, but Jeremy's family is very good at it. Very good. Jeremy's very good. So I excel in pop culture games, charade type games. And then when I do win, there's no humbleness. Like I used to think that I was a humble person until I win at a game and I'm like, you all suck. I'm the best. I don't say that, but that's like my attitude. Like, I mean, I think I'm kind still, but I'm very like, yes, like I can't ever not like cheer like, yeah, because it just shows that I'm out for that win, you know, so.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way, celebrating you. And we are celebrating you today.
Yeah.
Because it's your birthday.
Thank you.
The fierce and fabulous and brave Sam. So lucky to be here. Before I forget about it, Jeremy, do you have every acceptable 2-letter Scrabble word memorized?
No. No, I don't.
I could probably beat you then.
Oh, we might have to do that then.
I have a cheat sheet.
A cheat sheet?
But you shouldn't be.
Of 2-letter words?
2 and
Acceptable
3,
2-letter words? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I once won a Scrabble tournament with the word
Otherwise, how would I know you're not cheating?
AA.
AA? Nice.
It's lava, by the way. I don't know how to pronounce it. But AA is a word. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Debbie. You're going to stick around for the after show.
Sure. Yeah, we got a present to open.
Oh, I can't wait.
We don't have any cake because
that's okay.
I'm not doing sugar right now.
Yeah, we need to cut that sugar out. All right. Well, thank you, Debbie. Appreciate you coming. Thank you for kind of putting out this change.
So fun.
Getting the ball rolling with it.
So fun. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jeremy. You're a rock star. A supportive husband. Oh, my gosh.
He's amazing. I know.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
And that's a wrap for now.
Thanks for listening to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle. Music provided by twinmusicom.org. Song titled Night at the Dance Hall. Sound editing by me, Jeremy Spittle. A special thanks to our studio sponsor, M&M Exteriors. Visit their website at mmexteriors.com for all of your roofing, siding, and gutter needs in the Northern Virginia area. Visit our website at flushingitout.com and be sure to subscribe. This has been a Spitfire production.
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.